I took a well-paying job as a night guard for a vacation home. I received an interesting set of rules. I had been looking for a job for a while. I got laid off the previous week and was desperate for anything with decent pay and night hours. I pretty much lived like a vampire because of my previous job as a night guard for a museum, and I had no intention to change my sleep schedule. I had looked up night guard position available on Google and was browsing through the results when one caught my eye. I clicked the link and it took me to a plain website. It read, "Night guard needed for 4-story vacation home. No experience needed." I looked at the pay and immediately picked up my phone and dialed the number on the screen. As the phone rang, I glanced at the screen to make sure I hadn't misread it. $40 per hour for a 10-hour shift. I quickly ran some numbers through my head. For $100 a day, that was over twice the pay for my previous job. A voice jerked me out of my fantasies of what I was going to do with my newfound riches. "Hello," the voice said anxiously. "Hi," I replied. "I'm calling about the job opportunity. Is it still available?" It was silent for a moment. Then the voice said back, "Yes. If you are interested, come to the address on our website on Monday at 7 p.m. for your first shift." Then whoever was on the other end hung up. After the call, I sat back and started to think about the job more rationally. Every aspect of this screamed danger. High pay, no experience needed, no interview, all red flags. But if it were real, the payoff would be huge, and I would finally get my big break in life. After a short mental debate, I convinced myself that there was no harm in giving it a chance. I was so wrong. The mansion was located about 9 miles from my house and 3 miles from civilization. It was located in the middle of an acre of dark forest. I got in my car around 6:45 and was at the house 15 minutes later. The sun was already sinking below the trees when I arrived, even though it was mid-spring. There was one car out in front, an old blue pickup truck with faded paint. The mansion itself was fairly big. It looked like it was old, but kept in very good condition. I started toward the house but was interrupted by a young lady getting out of the car. "Hello," she said. "I'm Sarah, the day guard." I turned to face her and said, "Hi, I'm Jake. I'm here to apply for the night guard position." "I know. I was asked to stay late to show you the basics." "Thanks. There's a flashlight on the counter, snacks in the fridge, and a .357 Magnum behind the TV. Wi-Fi password is 12,345. Do your rounds every half hour and follow the rules." "What rules?" She bent down and removed her backpack, and after a few seconds, she pulled out a piece of paper and handed it to me. "Read it," she said. I quickly scanned over it. This is what it said. Rule number 1, the scented candles in the 4th floor bathroom are to be kept lit at all times. If they go out, the house will get noticeably warmer. At that point, you should attempt to escape the property. Take Jericho or you will die. Rule number 2, the front door will open at 8:32 p.m. Do not shut it. It will close at 10:14 p.m. In the time it is open, the house will get cold. Colder than you can imagine. We have provided a small space heater and several blankets in the 1st floor sitting room. Don't bother doing your rounds during this time. Rule number 3, you may hear a group of people talking on the 2nd floor balcony. Do not attempt to investigate. Instead, check that the candles are still lit. If they are lit, go to the basement and hide in the left closet until the talking stops. If the candles are not lit, hide in the right closet until your shift is over. Rule number 4, the owners will enter the house at some point during the night. They are not the owners. They will complain of the smell that the scented candles are emitting and attempt to put them out. Before this happens, you must take the cross mounted above the fireplace, knock them out with it, then leave the room. Just shoot them. It's easier. Less risk of dying. Rule number 5, the rules may change at any time during the night. Memorize them. Rule number 6, there is a small cat named Jericho who lives in the house. She will come to you if you open a can of the Purina cat food found in the kitchen. She is very sensitive to any disruptions. Carry her around when you make your rounds of the house. If she looks disturbed, immediately return to the 1st floor sitting room until your next round. Give her the food or she won't come back. Then you are definitely dead. Rule number 7, do not ever enter the 3rd floor. Rule number 8, never walk up the front steps. Go through the back door. If you accidentally walk up the front steps, don't turn around. Just keep walking very slowly and hope it will lose interest in you. Rule number 9, do not attempt to leave the property until your shift is over unless rule number 1 is broken. If any of these rules are broken, the redacted family is not responsible for your health and safety. When the day guard comes to relieve you of your position, check to see if their pupils are solid black. If they are, then they have been taken. If this happens, then bring the key home with you. I looked up from the paper and said, "Is this a Joe Dash?" I stopped. She's gone. Disappeared, no truck, no Sarah. I tried to think up a reasonable explanation, but there was none. Trucks and people don't just up and disappear. There were no tire marks, no sound of the engine starting. Nothing. What the fuck? Where did she go? Why did I take this job? All questions I asked myself at that moment. I started to calm down. There was one explanation. This was all a prank. She and her friends probably were having a good laugh at me standing here with this stupid expression on my face. I don't know where the truck went, but there was definitely a logical explanation for this. I just didn't know what the hell it was. I turned my attention back to the rules. Someone had scrawled notes on them in blue pen. The notes are bold and in italic. I snorted. Not the owners. Who the hell would try to break into a house, then say they were the owners? And why would I have to club them over the head with a cross? I almost just dropped the paper on the ground, but something stopped me. I don't know what it was, but it saved my life. Instead, I folded it in half and stuck it in my back pocket. As I walked toward the house, I looked at my watch, 7:12 p.m. I was becoming more optimistic about this job by the second. A gun? Snacks? Free Wi-Fi? I really had found my dream job, except for the rules. The goddamn rules. Were they a prank? Were they real? I looked at the stairs. They were ridiculously long. I counted about 100 steps. I glanced at the rules. Number 8. Never walk up the front steps. That was fine with me. Just gives me an excuse to not climb up empty Everest V2. Now with conveniently located steps. But how would I get in? I looked at the paper again. Rule number 8. Never walk up the front steps. Go around and climb up the vines and through the third-floor window. Wait a minute, I thought. I'm not supposed to go into the third floor ever. I then looked at the rules once again. They now read, Rule number 8. Never walk up the front steps. Go through the back door. What the hell was wrong with me? Why did the paper say one thing earlier and a different thing now? I looked at rule number 5. The rules may change at any time during the night. I laughed out loud. I was so stupid, following these dumb rules. The stairs were inconvenient, but it would probably take longer just to find the back door. I walked up the first couple of stairs anxiously, but when nothing happened, I relaxed and decided to read over the rules more thoroughly while I was walking. They're good for a laugh, I guess, I thought dryly. When I had reached rule number 4, I became aware of something watching me. At first, I thought it was just a bird or maybe a bat. But when I reached rule number 8 and saw the words, "Hope it will lose interest in you," written in that messy hand, I almost turned around and went home right then and there. But the paper clearly said don't turn around. For the first time that night I had the thought, what if this is real? What if I just signed myself up for a night in hell? Shit, I murmured. So, I continued my walk up the stairs, going very slowly as to hopefully bore whatever malevolent entity was currently behind me when the front door was slowly pushed open. I checked my watch, 7:19. I looked once again at the rules. They very clearly said the door would open at 8:32. Did the rules change? My confusion evaporated when a small cat emerged from the barely opened door. Her large blue eyes gleamed intelligently. She bounded down the stairs to me and sat down on the step above me. "Why, you must be Jericho," I stammered hesitantly. Then I remembered something. Animals were supposed to be able to detect the paranormal. Jericho didn't seem disturbed or frightened at all, just curious. I sighed in relief, then went to take a step. Just before my foot touched the next step, Jericho let out a soft hiss, barely audible over the roar of a car pulling into the gravel driveway. Luckily, I had pulled my foot back to the step before it actually touched the next one, so I was in the clear for now. The car parked and the driver stepped out. It was a middle-aged man, somewhere between 30 to 35. "I'm here about the job offer," he said, looking up at the strange scene that was unfolding before him. Luckily, he parked to the side of the stairs so I could see him without turning around. The man started walking toward me when Jericho suddenly let out a low musical yowl, eerie and haunting. It seemed to come from everywhere at once. The man stumbled and fell as if struck, and said in a panicked voice, "What the hell is behind you?" He started scooting back toward his car, his gaze fixed on whatever was currently following me. "Seriously, man, what is that?" "Just go home. Get the hell out of here," I said shakily. With those words, he quickly got to his feet and was out of there in record time, tires skidding on the gravel as he rocketed down the driveway and out of sight. Now I was once again alone, excluding Jericho. Suddenly I heard something that sounded like a deep sigh, which left me frozen in fear. I stood there for what felt like hours, when Jericho turned and started to walk inside. With a small flick of her tail, she invited me to follow. I sprinted up the steps and through the door, slamming it shut and locking the deadbolt. I sighed in relief. I was in the house. So that's where I am currently, sitting in the kitchen typing this up on my phone. I skipped the first couple rounds to type this, and have been steadily working my way through the house's supply of Pepsi. Jericho disappeared as soon as she walked in the house, and I haven't seen her since. The time is 8:12. I will provide updates whenever I get the chance. Back from me. Well, I didn't survive my second shift.